Have you ever wondered what your hands, heart, and intuition might reveal about your life? Welcome to Live Soul Readings, Hands, Hearts, and Higher Guidance with Cynthia Clark and Megan Brown. Each week, we explore meaningful themes, answer heartfelt questions, and offer live soul readings, intuitive messages, and higher guidance to bring greater clarity to your relationships, purpose, healing, and next steps. Want a chance to be featured live? Submit your hand photos and questions in advance. And join us every Saturday at 10 a.m. Arizona time. Because sometimes the guidance you've been seeking has been waiting for you all along.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lion's Gate. 8/8 is the Lion's Gate, so August 8th. So a lot of people put a fair amount of significance on this day because in numerology, right, we look at the number 8 is oftentimes associated with abundance. And especially the Chinese culture looks at that as the luckiest number. It also represents transformation. So in terms of like releasing karma and transforming your karma, that's associated with eights. And so it's a great day. I get excited about the Lion's Gate because number one, I love to be abundant and I love to envision abundance. And it's just a good opportunity for us to tune into that and really look at that in our lives. So I'm here with Megan today. And what would you like to mention about the Lion's Gate?
Well, it's interesting. I didn't used to know anything about it, but seeing that it's an 8 to me represents eternity. And I love that on this particular day, you can celebrate like your eternal intention. And I like the thought of that. You're in control of it. You are in charge. You get to set the destination. So I think that's powerful. And I think it goes really well with what the lion would represent.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of the lion, I want to kind of just talk a little bit about the symbolism of the lion and what does that really represent and how can we apply it to being more abundant? So a lot of times people think, oh, the lion is all about courage, right? You think of this, it's synonymous with courage. Well, everybody talks about that. Right? So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that today. And we're going to look at the symbology in a little deeper way for you. So the first thing I want to just mention is that the lion does not chase every opportunity, right? So even though there's this huge amount of opportunity out there in the world, what is it that is for you? So that's the first thing I would like to just talk about. And, sometimes we get into the rat race, right? It's like, well, the Joneses are doing this, and so I have to go do this. Well, that's not necessarily in alignment with you, right? So what you need to ask yourself, what is in alignment with you? And what is it that you really want to align with in order to bring about the best life for yourself? So what do you think about that, Megan?
Well, I'm stuck on the lion and the visual that you just gave about the lion. And I feel as though it represents responsibility because it can't act quickly, as you pointed out. And by not acting quickly, that means that there's more thought that's required of them in order to use their discernment of where to extend their energy, because it's an open area. And okay, when will I leave my my tribe here, my family here? When will I not? How will I protect? How will I? So I get this type of feeling. And I also get that a lion doesn't have an opportunity to sit back and be silent at times. And I think the lion has to use their voice and really make themselves known, but when it's appropriate, or when it's appropriate. It could be like warning, or it could be like, oh no, we're not going to do this. That's how the lion.
Right. So yeah, the lion's not going to chase after every little bit of prey, for example. It's going to be discerning as to what's going to be the best prey for it to chase after. Right. So a lot of times it's going to let things just go on by and it's going to do nothing. So, but when the time is right and the opportunity is right, that's when you can jump in. So look at your opportunities today in your life. This would be, assignment number 1. I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of assignments today, by the way. So if you want to take notes, this would be a good day to take notes. So number 1, what opportunities are in front of you and which ones are the most in alignment for you? Okay, so that's your assignment number 1. Okay, so number 2, the lion knows its worth, right? The lion doesn't have to get permission from someone else or asking the rest of the pride, am I worthy to be a lion? Am I okay? Am I good enough? This is actually, the whole animal kingdom is like this. And just, look at my dog every morning when I feed him his breakfast. He doesn't say, I'm not worthy of receiving this breakfast. He knows he's worthy.
He does.
Yes, our little animals, they know everything, right? Cats especially. So lions are like big cats. So cats are so funny because it's like, well, you are here to work for me. I am the one in charge and you are my servant. So, but humans are not like that, right? Humans struggle with worthiness all the time and it runs in the background, right? So we have these programs that were brought in from our childhood or from our past lives, and a lot of it filters around worthiness because maybe you had siblings that were putting you down when you were a kid, as an example, and then you took it in and said, oh well, I guess I'm not good enough for that, or it could be showing up in your hands as a life lesson. But yeah, the lion knows its worth.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the thing that you touched upon is how humanity, we question ourselves. There's self-doubt, and that's what we're taught. Based upon what I put it on the religious affiliation that you're raised with, and you're taught. I'm using that as an example because it's a strong, identifiable example that we are told how far we can go in terms of listening to our inner self. We are told how to behave. We are told what we need to pay attention to, what we need to stay away from. And the lion and the animal kingdom, they don't have to do that, like you pointed out. They don't need the permission. They just know who they are. And so they show up and they're like, I know my role. You don't even have to do it for me. I'm just going to do it. And so that's, if humanity, can you imagine if we were to just show up and go, hi, I'm here, without all of these checklists behind, we've actually, I think we've put ourselves in a position in the world, as a matter of fact, where we have identified others in terms of humanity as being X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. And it doesn't have anything to do with allowing them to be themselves like the lion. It doesn't have anything to do with letting them as the lion, metaphorically in the human form, use their own voice and use their discernment and give themselves permission to just be themselves. And I think that's so incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also from your perspective, in from heaven's perspective, we're automatically worthy, right? Like we're not viewed
Yeah.
as insignificant
Um,
or unimportant.
Not at all. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that I'm writing about in this book that I swear I'm like, I'm praying it's done today, okay, or if not tomorrow. But it's like we have to allow ourselves to show up as we are. I mean, it's so fascinating that we're talking about the lion today, because this is one of the main messages is just be yourself in life and be who you are. I mean, providing that you are not harming another. Okay. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah,
That's not
right.
allowed. But, express yourself, be your creative self, dress however you want, sing out loud, you know, um,
Hmm.
allow yourself um, to open up and fully be the essence of who you are. Because one of the things that I saw in heaven is they just stand there, as I was watching my life review, they're just standing there next to me. I'm the one having all the emotions around it. They weren't. They were very supportive. My guides were extremely supportive, and so was God when I got to God's table. But here's what they're supporting. They're supporting the fact that we as a human, we didn't know any different. So that's all I knew at that time in my life. That's the only way I knew how to be. And there were restrictions in being for myself. And
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. There's a whole world of us. And that's what heaven would love, is for everybody to just look at each other and go, oh, yeah, we're already perfect.
Exactly, exactly. That's such an important thing, which leads to number three, which is the lion leads through presence. So when we recognize that we're already perfect, we're already that divine being of light, then we can naturally lead through that presence that's within us. And we don't have to apologize for it. We don't have to pretend to be something that we're not. We can just exude that energy, right? So in terms of abundance, going back to our topic of abundance, how are you exuding abundance in your life? Or how are you exuding scarcity in your life? Because a lot of times people are coming from that presence of they can't remember that they're divine infinite beings. And so they come from that scarcity energy. So this is just something for you to start to think about, right? So if you're already abundant, then you don't need to worry, right? That's the bottom line. You don't need to worry about it.
So true. Absolutely true. And when you say abundance, I mean, I want it to, like, you're not just talking about financially.
No, no, abundance is everything. It's your whole life. So you look at all the things that are important to you in your life. You look at your family, your friends, your just your relationships in general. You can look at your health. You can look at your where are you living? You can look at your travels, what are you doing with your time, your creativity, your service, how are you helping others? All of these things are part of your abundance pot, so to speak, right? So your little pot of gold. To use the metaphor of the rainbow and the leprechaun. But yeah, your little pot of gold might have an abundance more strongly in one area than another, and that's okay. But we can certainly build up the other sections, the other coins that you want to pick up, for example, through our alignment with it, right? So, yeah, knowing that presence and recognizing that abundance is everywhere, it's all around you, and you can bring it to you at any time, right? Just by changing, which I always talk about every week, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your responses. So, so that leads me also to talking about number 4. That's directly relating to what this is abundance is an inner state before it's an outer result, right? So if you're scarce in your money, for example, it's like, well, how can you change internally first? And Megan, I have to just tell you, I had the funniest thing happen to me this week. It was relating to this very thing. So I was up in Jerome, and I was, shopping and just walking around. It's a little town outside of Sedona, for those of you not familiar with it. And I receive synchronicities occasionally. So a synchronicity is simply a repeating pattern, right? So this last week I was watching Outlander, which is one of my favorite shows. And I was finishing up the series because I love time travel and I love, romance and stuff like that. So I was watching that. And one of the main characters is named Mackenzie, right, in the show. And then I was in Jerome, and the bartender's name, we walked into this like wine tasting place, and the bartender's name was Mackenzie. And then right after that, we walked into another shop, and the lady who was running that shop, her last name was Mackenzie.
Really?
And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Okay, that's really unusual.
I know. Talk about a synchronicity that's really unusual. So I'm like, okay, something is definitely happening here, because first of all, the name Mackenzie is not that common. It's not uncommon, but to see it like so in my face, like right in a row, I'm like, okay, this is a synchronicity. I have got to figure out what this means. So I oftentimes will bump things off of my AI, and I just asked him, what does the name Mackenzie mean? Like what is the definition of this name? Because I thought, well, maybe I'll start with that. So anyway, he ended up coming back and saying, oh, the name Mackenzie means child of Kenneth. Okay, so that's what the name means. Okay, but now this wouldn't mean anything to most people, except for my brother's name is Kenneth.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow.
Okay, and he's my
common name.
Yeah, so he's my next older brother. He's 6 years older than me. And so then I'm like, okay, so what is it about my brother that I need to be aware of? And I was working on abundance this whole week because of the Lion's Gate. Okay, so this does have a point, this story. So anyway, I looked at my childhood, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so a lot of times we think our parents are going to bring in the beliefs around money. And to a large extent, that is true. You definitely want to look at your parents. You want to look at how did they spend money? How did they talk about money? What was the general vibe about it, right? So I ended up looking at my brother instead because of this synchronicity about Mackenzie. And I'm like, oh, okay, so my brother, first of all, he's a workaholic. He's a genius workaholic. So he's like a really great guy. Okay, first of all, I want to just start with that. My brother he always protected me when I was a kid. He was always he was really influential in my life. But to think, okay, well, he was only 6 years old when I was born, so he was pretty young too. And so some of the things that I inherited from him was that you have to work harder for money. Money doesn't come easily. Money is, it goes right out again. It doesn't stay with you, and I inherited a bunch of these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So that's what I worked on this whole week to release, was some of these restrictive patterns around money. So anyway, so Megan, what did your family believe growing up about money?
I don't even know. I just know that where I lived, I grew up on a farm, and that farm was built during World War II. And the reason that I'm stating that is that the people who built it, my family, had loads of money. And then I had the other side of the coin where they didn't have any money. And then it was, I saw both worlds, growing up, and I'm in the middle of it, but I'm on a farm and, on 5 acres with, I felt like, when I look back now, it's almost like I was in my own Twilight Zone episode, because I'd go out, get socialized at school. But when I come home, I have my donkey and my chickens and my animals all around me. And that was my life, So I knew that we didn't have a lot like my mom. She didn't, but we had advantages. I learned that it definitely went out. It was hard to get, if I'm going to look at it from my mother's point of view. And so I witnessed that. But beyond that, there was more that I somehow wove in to the whole mindset. Like, it just happens. In other words, money just happens. And you definitely have to work for it, but it will happen. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird answer probably, but that's how I felt about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody is going to have their stories. Okay. Yeah. So I just want everyone who's listening, look at your own childhood, look at what was happening around you. For me, growing up, in the 70s, I got my first job when I was 13, and a lot of us, that was normal. It's like, you're going to start working as soon as you possibly can. and you better do that. And then I still remember my parents too. They're like, yeah, we're not paying for your college, but you're going to college. So you better just figure it out, and you better get a scholarship or something, or more jobs, because we're not paying for it. And it's not that they didn't want to pay for it. It's just that they had 3 other kids, and they just really couldn't afford it. So at my early age, I was thinking, oh boy, I gotta think ahead to college now, and I gotta think about how am I going to make enough money to put myself through college. And luckily, I got a scholarship, so
wow.
I didn't have to pay for anything except for books. But I manifested that. See, and that's the other thing. Like, you can manifest stuff if you really put your mind on it and focus on what you want and not what you don't want. So that's really the most important things. Okay, so number 5 is the Lion's Gate is a doorway, and you have to walk through that doorway. That's why it's called the gate, right? Lion's Gate. It's not just going to drop in your lap, right? Necessarily. It might, but you have opportunities in front of you, and you need to go through with your inspired action in order to create the life that you really want, right? So what opportunities, we talked about this a little bit earlier, what opportunities are available to you, and also what opportunities do you want to create for yourself, right? So sometimes, we have to take a risk, right? The lion takes risks all the time. And he knows that he might not get the prey. He knows that he's responsible for the rest of, actually, I think the female does most of the hunting, interestingly enough, in the lion group. So he or she, I should say. But the lion knows that that you can create opportunities, right? So how can you create an opportunity today to really open the door for your future? Okay, so number one is, of course, thinking about these things and taking that next aligned step. Okay, so what step are you going to take today, Megan?
Well, today for abundance, I'm going to step into myself even further. And I think that's important to add in here, because there's a story that as you're speaking about the lion, I'm like, well, I've got to interject this at some point. And
Yes.
One night during my one of the many out-of-body experiences after my near-death experience that I had, I was taken by Jesus to God's house, or Archangel Michael. I can't remember which one, but anyway, I had to go to God's house. And then I sat down on the couch and he informed me, he said, "Oh, you're not working with us tonight." And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Well, where am I going? Who am I working with? And he said, the Holy Spirit has a test for you. Okay, so this is quite an extensive story, but I'll jump to the point where I had to get in an elevator. I had to go up to wherever I was being taken to. And when the elevator opened, there were obstacles right in front of me. And the obstacles were 2 rows of swords, very, very sharp. And they were 10 deep, and they were in front of me. So had I walked through the elevator doors didn't close, by the way. And I had to figure out what to do here. So I remembered at some point, I'm in my head going, well, how am I supposed to get out? I don't even remember what the task was that I was supposed to do. Like there was an end goal, and I don't remember what that was, but I knew I had to be there, but I just couldn't get out of the elevator. So I thought about, there were so many times when I met with Jesus and others in heaven, and Jesus taught me how to morph. And in morphing, you are to change your mindset. So it's knowing who you are and knowing that there are no limitations. And when I realized that lesson that I'd learned with him on a previous night, I morphed into like a white smoke and I walked through the swords. But then there were 7 male lions, and they were like sitting, the head was like 10 feet tall. Okay. These were enormous white lions. And I remember this one was on like a pedestal thing. Okay. Column. And it looked at me and jumped off and came right at me, but not in a fast way. It was just approaching me, but I could see, oh, it has intention here. This lion, oh, it means business. What is the business? I don't know what to do here. And I froze. And so by the time the lion got up to me in his stealth mode, looking at me, I was frozen in unknowing. I wasn't afraid because I'd already just left God's house. So death is not a thing for me. So I just didn't understand what was happening. And then that lion picked up its enormous paw and gashed my femur. And when that happened, blood came out, and then boom, everything froze. And I heard this female voice, who is the Holy Spirit. I heard her say, "What are you doing?" That's all I heard was this. And I said, "I don't know what I'm doing. Did I just fail the test?" And she said, "No, you just haven't remembered who you are." And when I heard that, then everything came back, right? So it was like Bewitched, that show when we were kids.
Yeah, I love that show.
Right? And they freeze things. That's exactly what happened here. And so all of a sudden, here's the lion looking at me again, and I'm thinking, is it going to come after me again? But this time, when I looked at the lion, I knew who I was. And knowing who you are is everything, because it changes the direction and it changes the trajectory of what happens in the long run. to you and to others. So I knew that I was love. And I knew that my only purpose was to be there as a representative of love. Now, the story goes on and on and on, but the other important fact here around this lion, because you've been discussing what the lion represents and, how they are they're intimidating. Okay. The male lions are intimidating.
Very much so.
Yeah, obvious reasons. They know who they are. So I was being challenged with finding myself in that moment despite uncertainty. And the uncertainty is an immediate threat, right? It was an immediate threat because I already got gashed. The blood was going down my leg and it hurt. And what I needed to do was turn it around and say, oh no, this is not a threat at all. I can't get scared of what that lion is supposed to do. That lion is just saying, here's who I am. You're on my turf. What are you here for? Right? So it was like this understanding and having to go within and really face a different part of myself in that threat of the moment, which turned out to be one of the most incredible experiences that I had in heaven. I mean, they were all incredible, but that was so incredibly powerful. And it branches off in so many directions. But I think it's important to know that the lion can also represent, like a threat in a way. For me, in that, how do I take on something that's so wild and unpredictable? And so in this whole business of calling on abundance within ourselves in whatever way we're calling it forward, to remember that it's the wild card. The entire universe is the wild card, but the same card always is love. So the energy that you want to emit and get out there is love, because when you know it, nothing else can threaten you. Nothing can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and of course the hands are the mirror to who you are, and that's the other reason why I love looking at people's hands, is because it's going to show you exactly who are you from a soul level, who are you from a personality level, who are you from a free will aspect, and it can guide you in all of these things, including your abundance. So, and we'll talk a little bit about the hands here in a little bit, but first I just want to mention that if you want to get your hands read and you want me to look at your hands on the show, all you got to do is scan the QR code that I've got up here on the screen, and you can submit your hands, and I'll be happy to look at them in a future episode. The other thing that I want to mention is that Megan has a course coming up, and I'm going to put that up here. So it's Who Did You Have to Become? And you can just go to her website, conversationswithmegan.com/event-list. Okay, so that's the website. And Megan, can you tell us a little bit about that class?
Sure. Basically, breaking the structure down of who you are, who you think you are, because more often than not, people don't even know that they have this other resource about themselves. But you did have to become somebody else in order to find who you really ultimately are. So I take the students on a journey through this 6-week course, online course, and I teach them who they really are, and I give, homework assignments that are simple, but it's always to help an individual develop into their next level self. We are all constantly moving, up to the next level of ourself throughout our life. And that's what we're supposed to do. So I am teaching tools in various ways, how to do that.
Nice. Perfect. So check out Megan's class if you're interested. Just go to that website listed here at the bottom. And I also have a class, if you're interested, you can just go to my ascension17.com/courses. And this is one of my ongoing courses called Spiritual Abundance Mastery. And it really helps you master the law of attraction. It helps you understand how to set intentions and then how to create in the realm of creation. Because you can't just think, oh, I'm going to make $1 million today. You have to do that in the realm of creation. So I teach you how to go into that realm, how to be in more of a receiving energy as opposed to a problem or stressed out energy. So that's part of what that class is. And then also, because it is the Lionsgate, I did create a special 3-hour music for you to listen to on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching from Megan's channel, or if you're watching from one of my other channels, you can go to YouTube today and go to my YouTube channel, which is Cynthia Clark 17. And you can listen to the Lionsgate music that is 888 hertz. And you can just put it in the background, while you're doing your manifesting work. And it's really beautiful. And I have some nice lion images that you can watch as you go through. But anyway, so that's what I've got going on. And we are also excited to answer your questions. So looks like we've had a couple of comments. So I'm gonna pull up some comments here from you guys. And let me just go back in here, hold on. Sometimes I lose track of where I am. Okay, here we go. Yes, okay, type your questions in the chat if you have a question about abundance. Oh, thanks. Sending me love. I love that. Thank you so much. And also to Megan. So
you
for getting love from the audience. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Namira had a comment. Good to see you again, Amira. She says, I've been growing up poor. Actually, I never think about that. It's the first time because I'm listening to your live today. I'm grateful because I have a roof and I'm good. But I'm wanting to manifest. Yes, that's what we're here for. So yeah, so I want to just mention while you guys are thinking about a question that you might want to ask about the hands, right? So a lot of people think, oh, is there a money line? You do a search on YouTube and you can look up money line on the hands. Okay, well, I'm here to tell you there is no specific money line. Okay, hand analysis is a lot more complicated than that. But we can look at certain things and we can see things that can help us to create more money, right? So the first thing I want to actually just point out to you guys is the Jupiter finger. Okay, that's the index finger in your hand. Okay, so when you look at that finger, that is representing how you see yourself. So it's like Megan was talking about. You need to see yourself as love. You need to see who you really are authentically. So people who have a long Jupiter finger, and how do you know if it's long? Well, we measure it relative to the ring finger. So you put these two fingers next to each other, and then you can see, is Jupiter longer than the ring finger, which is Apollo? Okay, so if it is, that means that you are going to be more self-aware, first of all, and more likely to look at those kinds of things than if your Jupiter finger is short. Okay, so that's the first thing. And Jupiter, of course, if you have a long Jupiter, that is the term Jupiter, jovial comes from it. So you're more likely to be, optimistic if you have a long Jupiter finger, and you're more, your energy is just naturally more expansive. Okay, so by the way, if you don't have a long Jupiter finger, which by the way, most of the time it is shorter than Apollo, then it's okay. I want you just to have an awareness around it. Okay, so you can ask yourself, well, how can I expand my view a little bit more, giving myself a new perspective, right? So these are just some of the things to think about with your hands. The traditional money line, which I never call it that, would actually be located under the Apollo finger. That's your sun finger. And it's the line that runs down off of that finger. So it's a minor line. It's called the Apollo line. And what it really represents is your talents and how much time do you spend developing those talents. So oftentimes, of course, they lead to money, right? So if you have a strong Apollo line, that shows that you've spent some time developing a talent or a skill. Okay, so that's how we would actually read that line. It doesn't have to do with, am I going to win the lottery or, anything like that. So anyway, yeah. Any questions? We want to invite you to just type them into the chat, and we're happy to assist you with your abundance questions. And I also, Megan, I love to talk about feng shui as well, because a lot of people, sometimes the easiest things they can do is actually just change their, something in their house, right? So, by the way, the feng shui does change every year. So this year we're in the fire horse. So what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of stuff that means. But one thing I want to point out is that the wealth element this year is represented by water. Okay, so if you want to increase abundance in your life, one of the things that you can do is bring water element into, for example, your wallet or your purse, have like blue or black as the color is going to be the most favorable for this year. And the wealth directions this year are east and southeast. So east is the number 8 and southeast is the number 9. 9 is actually also considered a really positive money number in the feng shui. So I would recommend bringing water element into those directions, where you can bring in a little fountain, or you could just have something representing water. It doesn't have to actually be a liquid. So those are just some little tips that could help you, and it doesn't have to take a lot of effort, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yep. Sounds like a feng shui how to, and make it as easy as possible just to make a shift for yourself.
Yeah. So Megan, I also like to talk about crystals, and people think about like money crystals. So there's 2 crystals that I like to think about when I want to bring in abundance. Number 1 is citrine. Citrine quartz is like the number 1 that people think of. Do you have any citrine in your house?
I do. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at a money tree in front of me that my son gave me for Mother's Day. And
Nice.
it just so happens to have citrine on it. Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one that I would recommend is imperial topaz. So also a yellow crystal. Both of those are really considered abundance crystals. So you could also just meditate on that crystal too. If you don't happen to have one in your vicinity, you can just call in the energy of citrine and imperial topaz. And what it does is crystals hold vibrations, right? So we have vibratory set points, is what I like to refer to them. And so you have a vibratory set point for the amount of money that you have in your life, right? So if you want to increase that, how do we do that? Well, we got to change some things, right? So if you want to tap into citrine quartz or imperial topaz, those crystals hold the vibration that you're looking for. So that's why there's so many crystals out there, because they're really gifts from the earth, right? And we can tune into the gifts from the earth. And just like the lion, right? We can tap into the symbol of the lion and we can embody that symbol within us, because we are all connected. Right, Megan? I'm connected to you and you're connected to the lion, and we're all connected to citrine.
I love that. But I'd like to add in another stone in here, and that's cinnabar. And it's red. And I know that it's man-made in the sense that that's like the added, how do they do it? Heating the stone or something. I can't remember, but I know that that one's affiliated with financial abundance as well. If that's what people are going to. So there's three, that because the citrine and the cinnabar are the ones that I use, so they seem to be. I didn't know about the imperial topaz, but that's good to know.
Yeah, I actually wore my necklace today.
Oh,
I can't see it, is imperial topaz. So yeah,
I love that you're wearing it, but you're right, I can't see the full thing.
I know, probably because my microphone is in the way, but
it's like a blur up close for me. And the reason I don't put my glasses on to see is because they'll just reflect what's in front of me. And it looks like I have these little, I don't know, space alien eyes when I have my glasses on.
Oh no.
Right? Oh no, we're in Sedona. That's so unheard of.
Yeah, nobody has that. Yeah, that's not a problem. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead and just type them into the chat. Let's see what we've got coming up. Okay. Here's some questions. Okay. What is spirit body integration for you ladies? Okay, so I'll put it up here. Spirit body integration. Well, would you like to start with the answer to that, Megan?
Sure. So the spirit body integration, to me now, what I understand since my NDE is that we have an energy and we are created from this perfect energy of love. That's our soul. And so the soul it's composed of previous lives, which have a spirit from each life, right? A different character, if you will, where we had developed only so far, or we had developed in this area so far, but it's all a song, one giant song. This is how I'm going to describe it. And then that song is your soul, and the energy of your soul is always speaking to you, through you. And whether you realize it or not, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinarily powerful, but also really helpful. So when you can honor yourself as the energy of love that you are, then you are going to align everything. This is just what I know. I can shift anything within me and to help others by shifting the way in which I feel about it, because there's feeling that goes in here as well. And our mindsets, it all links, I promise. This is all threaded together. So our spirit, our body, it's all run by the car engine called the soul. Because if you just look at us, pick whatever car you want. You want to be a Maserati, go for it. You want to be a VW Bug, go for it. But your engine is always your soul. And your spirit, well, depends on you and what you choose. And how it aligns with your body is, again, it's choice. It's how you choose to show up and make decisions and express yourself. Not good to silence yourself. Those are some of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah. And how I look at it is through the lens of the hands. So I think of, the soul, like I think of it as like three interlocking circles, So we have one circle that represents the soul, and that's going to be your fingerprints, right? Your fingerprints form 5 months before birth. They never.
Wait, we froze.
So you also have a circle that's your personality, right? That's the stuff that is influenced you from childhood, and that's your hand shape. And then you have the circle, which is your free will. So the choices that you're making as you go through life. And then where does that intersect? That is your spirit body integration. So when you're aligning all those things together, that's really where you want, that's like the sweet spot, right? You want to be in that sweet spot. So that's how I look at it. Okay, so we have another question here. I'm just going to go down the list here. So Namira has, she says, can I have a message, what you see coming in abundance for me? Okay, so let's, I'll go ahead and just pull a card for you from my deck. By the way, I created my own deck called the Palmistry Tarot deck. And it helps you learn about hands. And it also is a traditional 78 card tarot deck. So let's go ahead and just do that for Namira, and then Megan's going to also tune in for you. And this is your abundance message for today on the Lion's Gate. Okay, so the card coming up for you is the inverted star. Okay, and I love this card. This card is actually a really good card in both directions. We see a beautiful girl holding up her arms to the sky, and we have the elements of water and air, which is it's actually a hand-shaped combination of the two elements. But it represents your hopes and dreams, and it's saying it's okay to be a dreamer. In fact, today, that's your job, that's your assignment, to go and dream about what it is that you want to experience next in your life. And can you go in there and can you actually see it as full, vivid color as you possibly can? So in other words, can you see yourself doing something? Can you feel what it feels like to be doing that? Can you make it as real as possible? Okay, add in all the little details, and nobody's going to tell you that it's too outlandish or anything else. This is your dream. Go ahead and do that for yourself. That's your assignment. All right. And how about you, Megan? What do you have to tell Namira?
Okay, so I didn't hear anything that you told her because I was saying prayers, and I lowered the volume so that I could say the prayers. Anyway, what I got was that there is clarity around what you want to do. It just feels open. I can see the 9 that I always call on, and they're clear. But there's also from here up. So it's this heartfelt. How do I bring it out? I get this feeling like, how do I move this forward in my life? And then there's money just dropping in. I just see money dropping in. It's not like, loads and loads that I'm seeing, but it's steady. And that's what I see happening in terms of the financial. It just comes from above, indicating heaven is producing, is what they're saying. So don't be worried about that, but be clear about what it is that you want to do and how you want to produce it. In other words, make it happen, and be creative is what I'm hearing. Also, plot it out, just plan it. I see 3 columns, and in those 3 columns, you decide, okay, where you're at right now, what it is this next move is perhaps, and then what your goal is. You just put the goal. You don't know the outcome. You just know what your goal is. And structuring it in a way will benefit you is what I'm getting. But I do see consistency for you.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and just to wrap up, the star is also a very positive card of now's the time to set those intentions. The universe is supporting you right now with the Lion's Gate. So definitely you can co-create this life that you want for yourself. And there's really no reason why you couldn't have what you want. Okay, so that's the what we want to comment on that. Namira also mentioned that she likes feng shui. Yeah, it is very interesting. And she's also wearing a citrine ring. Yeah, me too. Hey, yeah, here's my citrine ring. Cool. And then we had another question coming in, and it's about the hands. And it says, would you please tell us about the palm where the headline, heart line, and lifeline do not join on the palm? Okay, yes. Now let's talk about that. So normally the headline and heart line do not join. Okay, the heart line is going to be the one up at the top of the hand. Okay, this is the one closest to the fingers. That represents your emotional flow. Okay, most of the time it does not connect to the headline. The headline is the one in the middle part of the hand that represents your thinking. And typically this line is connected to the lifeline. So about 20% of the time it is not. So if your headline is not joining with your lifeline, that's saying that your thinking is actually independent. And when you came into this world, right, when you were young, you broke away quickly from the thinking of your family. Okay, so you came in very independent thinking, and that's why the line is separated. Okay, most people will have it connected for a while, and if it's overly connected, I actually consider that kind of a negative, because that means you're really getting hijacked by your family's thinking, and you're not able to break off and have your own way of thinking. Okay, so that's how I would read the separation. I don't consider that a bad thing at all. So yeah, that's to answer that question. And then, yeah, Namira says, thank you so much, ladies. It helps me a lot to work on it. Okay, good. Yay. Yeah, well, we're happy to help. That's what we're here for. So, but yeah, the hands are interesting, and the lines, do change somewhat over time as well. So it is possible to develop a connection at some point, but I don't consider, especially the major lines, I don't consider it a negative when they're separate. So yeah, so let's why don't we just go ahead and do I think what would be fun to wrap up for today is to just, I'm going to pull like a general card for everybody. Oh, we have a question coming in. Megan, would heaven have any messages for me? This is Rima, sending love to all creation. Okay, so yeah, Megan can answer that, and I'll go ahead and pull a card for you as well. So we'll wrap up with this. And by the way, we do appreciate your questions. We appreciate you showing up for yourself. Spending some time thinking about these things is always good. And if you're not following us, make sure you subscribe to the channels. We would really appreciate that. And here is your card. Okay, so Rima, you're getting the King of Fire. Okay, so this is a beautiful, expansive Jupiter card. And we have this guy holding the world around his hands. We have the ruby in here. The ruby represents like the spiritual warrior, tuning into your star of Jupiter, which is a mark in the hands. That's a talent marker, by the way. If you have it, it's going to be located underneath that index finger as a star right there. Okay, so if you have a star of Jupiter, it represents high achievement, leadership. I mean, it's everything about the lion. So how can you take your life to the next level. It's also about inspiring others. So, how can you inspire someone today? Who can you inspire? And you do it through being your authentic self. Be the best version of you that you can be today. And just doing that is going to allow others to do the same. It's going to give them permission to do the same, right? So we can all lift each other up. And that's really what the King of Fire is about. It's about stepping into that leadership version of you that is so loving and so true to yourself and so authentic that there's nothing to apologize for, right? And that's where you want to be. Okay, Megan?
Well, that was so beautiful. What I get is the stepping into yourself for sure. And I'm also seeing a book, and I'm getting that what you want to say is very powerful. It's also to assist people. If this is not something that you're working on currently, it's something that you will definitely have the choice and opportunity to work on in your life. But this is to, and I'm seeing Prophet Muhammad, who I love and adore, but I'm just saying he is so heavy in this work, in terms of inspiration and beautiful messages and love. And this is to help like change the course of how things are going, is also what I'm hearing, not only for yourself, but for the collective. And to keep doing it. Don't doubt it. However, be open to the shifts, is what I'm hearing, that are going to happen. But allow yourself to just be in it. Don't get worried. Just fall into it and see how it helps you blossom. Because I see this flower growing, and I mean, it's already there, but it's like it gets bigger and bigger, and it's quite beautiful. I see it in white, which indicates to me the purity and holiness of this. So I hope that's helpful.
Yes, that sounds like a great message. So, all right, well, we are going to sign off for today. Make sure you listen to the 3-hour Lionsgate meditation music that's going to be premiering at 11:30, so just in about half an hour on my channel if you're interested, and you can just play it in the background. You can play it tonight if you want to. It's just a really good way to get you into that 888 hertz frequency. And sign up for Megan's class. Here, I'm going to put this back up on the screen if you're interested. Just go to conversationswithmegan.com and you can sign up for her class, Who Did You Have to Become? That's a really great class that she's got coming up. And I have my Spiritual Abundance Mastery class on ascension17.com if you're interested. And next week, we are going to be talking about finding comfort in discomfort. So I would love to have you join us again next week. As always, we welcome your questions in advance. If you want to scan the QR code, you can definitely submit your question in advance. You can submit your hands, and I could actually look at your very own hands to see what's going on if you have a question about that. So, so thank you so much, everyone. Wow, that's interesting. It
I didn't know what to do. I was like,
Yeah. Let's
Hit
see.
egg.
Is this still?